this is my review of Death Note. Okay, so in this episode, the exchange for the Death Note happens, and basically Light and Nier have to work together, which doesn't end well for either of them. But basically, what happens is, so after Light and Nier's phone call between L and N, as they're going to call themselves, Nier explains how they're going to be operating solely independently from the rest of the investigation, but upon thinking about it for a minute, decides that it would actually be a perfect opportunity for L to show his stuff, and decides to let L run the investigation, which makes the task force happy. At which point he hangs up, and one of the SPK members asks Nier if that was a good idea, but considering Light's track record and not being able to catch Kira so far, but Nier says that it is actually precisely that it's a good reason, since it means that they can actually see how he operates and see if he is indeed good at his job. So, but in case Light is more than willing to take full responsibility for it, and the task force is happy with the fact that they're able to basically act autonomously. But then Soichiro remarks that if push comes to shove, he will take his own life if he has to, and will lay down his life to protect Sayu. And Light finally gets sick of this whole nihilistic "I'm going to die for the sake of everybody else" thing that Soichiro's been doing up to this point, and finally calls him out on it, pointing out that if he were to die, it would be very inconvenient for everybody else that relies on him, and also points out that he isn't taking into consideration how other people would feel if he were dead, and which finally snaps Soichiro out of it, and with that, Light begins to make preparations. First and foremost, he asks Misa to come to LA with him, since it's part of his plan. It's later revealed that he's going to have her kill criminals while he's working, so that it looks like Kira is still busy. And Misa is just excited about the fact that she gets to go to LA with Light, and immediately begins packing. But while she's packing, Light slips away to the bathroom and contemplates whether or not he'll be able to kill Sayu if he has to, which Misa overhears. But in case after they make all their preparations, Light reveals his plan to the task force, and we actually get to show it. They actually show it in real time. While working with Nier and the SPK, Light is basically going to have his task force members split up across multiple flights so that they can't be can't be easily tracked, and Aizawa in particular is going to tell Soichiro to make sure that he's safe. Aizawa in response decides to get a haircut so that it's less likely that the people will recognize him. But in case this plan mostly goes off without a hitch until they get ready to go to the flight for LA. Because at that exact moment, one of the mafia members actually confronts Soichiro and basically herds him onto a different flight so that he'll go where they want him to. And Soichiro goes along with it, mainly because he kind of has no choice. But Aizawa tries to tell Light about the situation and volunteers to reveal himself as a police officer and arrest the guy on the spot, since it's clear that the guy is working with the kidnappers. But Light tells him repeatedly not to, pointing out that all he needs to do is figure out where he's going. So Aizawa finally looks at the flight to see where it's going, and realizes it's going to LA as well. And Light realizes that they most likely set up a different flight, an adjoining flight, so that they could get Soichiro alone. And sure enough, that's exactly what happens. After the flight takes off, it's revealed that the plane has been hijacked, and that the original guy is that the guy in charge isn't actually the pilot, but is actually working with the mafia, and is only going to drop off Soichiro and nothing else. And afterwards he's going to let the actual pilot go. So, but points out that if they try to send any police force after him or anything like that, call the police, anything, he'll crash the plane and take everybody with him. So they basically have no choice but to let him do what he wants. And Light realizes that realizes that something is screwy because he checked the passenger list multiple times and realized that there couldn't have been anybody who could have gotten on, and indeed even the captain should have been fine, but it's clear that one of the captains was paid off because because in Light's character sheets of all the people that he researched, it's revealed that the guy who's hijacked the plane is actually a captain. So yeah, it's clear that the Mafia has planned ahead for everything, and it's just kind of taking every necessary precaution to keep themselves from being caught. So, but with that, Light calls up Nier and has him track the plane by satellite to figure out where it's going, so that they can. And sure enough, Nier uses his satellites to actually give Light a good view of what's going on, so that they can actually keep a track on the plane. And eventually the plane lands in an abandoned desert, basically, and Soichiro gets out. At which point it's revealed what exactly that Nier had a plan for this as well. As it turns out, there's an underground bunker, which is where they're holding Sayu. So he goes to the underground bunker, which is where Light and Nier are unable to track him, because they can only track him by satellite, and they realize that and the Mafia realized that, and had prepared a special bunker and had commandeered a special bunker for that exact situation. If they were being tracked by satellite, then they would be able to get everybody out of sight, so that they could actually make the exchange in private. And it works. Light gets increasingly paranoid by the fact that he is now unable to see any of what's going on. And he even takes it out on Misa, who notices that he's visibly agitated and tries to comfort him, but he just snaps at her, which Ryuk reprimands him for. But in any case, the exchange happens. Soichiro goes into the base, sees a big turnstile made out of bulletproof glass, and just for shits and giggles, the guy running the show actually opens fire on Sayu to demonstrate that it's bulletproof glass, except for a special slit where he would be able to shoot through, and explains that if Soichiro tries anything funny, he will shoot Sayu for real. So basically, Soichiro has no choice but to hand over the notebook. And the way it works is that there's actually a slit in one side of the door and a slit in the other side of the door, and that Soichiro is going to place the notebook in that slit, which has a little desk on it, and they're going to take the death note, and then they're going to spin the door and he's going to get Sayu back, and they're going to leave. But before he does that, the guy asks Soichiro to open up the death note and place it into the door that way, so that they can test it. And Soichiro is ultimately uncomfortable with it, but has to go through with it anyway. So he places it through the door. And Light, who is not so much seeing all of this, but hearing all of this, realizes that he's now at maximum desperation, and opens up his watch to reveal the little secret death note piece they put in there a few episodes ago, or a long time ago, I guess. And he puts it and he opens it up and realizes that he needs to kill Sayu, but stops himself when he realizes that he can't, since the only people who know about it are the SPK and the task force, and that if he were to kill Sayu, that would just place suspicion on the people in the task force, and he would be caught a lot faster. So he stops himself. But in any case, after they test the death note and one of the members dies, a guy who is expressly stated by the boss to be useless, as he puts it, and had been causing a lot of problems for the Mafia. They take the death note, and the exchange happens, and Sayu and Soichiro are allowed to go free. At which point, the guy from the bunker walks out and gets into a helicopter, which they realize is how he's planning to escape. However, also at that exact moment, another secret compartment opens to reveal a missile, and that's planning to be launched at the same time as the helicopter. And Light and Nier both realize the problem. That the death note is on one of them, and they have no idea which is which. But sure enough, the missile fires and the helicopter takes off, and they quickly realize that they need to figure out which one the death note is on, or they're not going to be able to catch it. But unfortunately, the Mafia makes their job a little bit easier by killing the pilot by basically blowing up the helicopter that he's on. And it's pretty clear that the Mafia doesn't care who they kill in the process, as long as they get what they want. So they blow up the helicopter, which confirms that the missile is indeed where the Death Note is. But by that point, it's too late, and they're unable to track it. And Light just kind of resigns himself to despair while Nier contemplates what's going to happen next. And Misa tries again to comfort Light by offering him a drink, but he just smacks it and it drops to the floor. So he's pretty out of it. He's upset by the fact that he lost one of the Death Notes, and now he's up, and now he has a very major setback that he needs to overcome. Meanwhile, Nier contemplates what's going to happen, realizing that eventually the missile is going to be recovered, and Mello is going to get the Death Note for himself, and he knows exactly what's going to happen next. And right on cue, almost every single one of the SPK members dies. And Nier isn't visibly shaken up inside, but in the manga, I think, and at the very least, as far as I know, he is kind of not okay. It shows that him visibly upset in the manga, but in the anime, not so much. He's just kind of detached from it and just a little bit upset. At which point Nier reveals to Light what exactly happened, and finally decides to explain to Light who exactly he thinks his primary suspect is, and explains everything he knows up to that point about Mello. So, and points out that to Mello, this is all a game to them. Light now has all the information he needs to try and paint a picture of who Mello actually is, and realizes that they need to catch him quickly, since they realize that he's playing a game with Nier to try and see who can catch Kira first, and that's basically what happens. But then there's one last scene at the end where it's revealed that you remember how Ryuk had an extra Death Note, and they kind of explained that? Yeah. They explain how it actually happened. As it turns out, there's a Shinigami named Sido who lost his Death Note, and Ryuk took it. So now Sido is looking for it, and has to go and found out that it's in the human world, and is going to go look for it there. So basically this episode just sets up one big major setback, in that the Mafia now has the Death Note in their possession. So now they can basically kill whoever they want with it. And also Sido is now going to go look for his Death Note, which is going to be interesting when they actually tackle that as a story element. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to play out. But in any case, that's my review of Death Note. What you guys think? Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below, or over on my Discord server, link in the description. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Twitter in the description below. And also, be sure to check out my Patreon in the description below as well. It's only a couple bucks a month. It really helps me out, and you guys get access to a bunch of cool perks that I'm always saying thanks. So be sure to check those out in the description below as well. But in any case, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!